Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, head down into the show notes. As always, we will have links for you to go and give reviews, to go and see clickable things that we talk about.
Please do, and please subscribe to the podcast.
Yes, please.
It really helps us out if you're going to listen, if you subscribe. Also, this invitation is, permanent, but I just want to throw it out there. If you have ideas for shows, things you want to hear about, people you want us to interview, whatever it is, please reach out to us. We definitely want to hear from you. This show is not for us, it's for you. So if there's something that you're needing help with or that you want to hear about or you're interested in, please drop us a line in all the ways to contact us. And we would love to hear from you and maybe integrate that into a show.
Absolutely. As we move on to the end of the year here, we wanted to go ahead and give you another review of a Blossom and Root curriculum. This is the fall Blossom and Root.
We finished up.
Spectacular explosion. Spectacular.
We finished a bunch of things
here
in this at the end of the summer here, and we have just finished nature and space. So we already did space, and we want to talk about this one.
Nature. So it's My Outdoor Classroom. Again, for the level 0. So I know you're out there and you're out there thinking, oh, what am I going to do with my kinder? Maybe if I have a little bit of an older student, or I have like a 4-year-old kind of like coming out of the toddler stage and starting to do some early educational stuff, and you're trying to figure out what to do with all these kids, and you're sitting there and you just got your Fitbit because your New Year's resolution is to do 7,000 steps a day, like all of us, getting our 3.5 miles. Really important to get outside. And so Christina at Blossom and Root has put together a wonderful curriculum for you to be able to get outside with your kids and go and investigate the world around you, your house, go and see the various animals that are in your area, go and see the local flora and fauna in your locale, an excuse to get out and do a hike, an excuse to go out to the park and walk around the lake, whatever it might be. This curriculum is there for you. And again, I like it because it is quasi-sciencey, because if you think about it, you're getting outside, you're looking at the trees, you're looking at the environment, the biology in your area.
A lot about
animals. If you're looking for kind of like a kind of a sciencey type of curriculum that can get you, through your kindergarten year, this is another great example. We talked a little bit about this. We talked a lot about the space science curriculum a few weeks back. We really like that one. We've done this one as well. And like always with these curriculums, I think hers is about 35, 36 weeks long. Again, you do not have to do that in 36 straight weeks. You can do that in 72 weeks. You can do that in 12 weeks. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, feels right.
Feels right for you. There is a little bit of because you're going outside, because you're engaging with the world around you, there is some seasonal content in here. There's a little bit.
It's not too heavy, though.
It's not too heavy. Like they do talk about, what do you do for winter and this and that. And so if it's not winter and it's summer for you, that might be a little confusing for your learner. Just to maybe keep that in your mind. You might skip that section.
I don't know how much it really builds on one another, though. I think you could probably swap them if you had to. So just for those of you who didn't hear our space science review, this is a component of the level 0 Blossom and Root curriculum. So if you buy the whole bundle, you get this, but she actually sells these separate. So when you buy the space science module, which is the one I was really going for, by the way, this was like an add-on, you also got this outdoor classroom module. And we were just really impressed with it once we got it. We're like, oh, well, gosh, we're going to do this too. So this is a subcomponent of level 1.
Yep.
Level 0.
And a lot of Christina's curriculums here all follow the same type of structure. And that's really nice because if you get into, these curriculums, and you're having to read a lot and relearn how people want to teach you. Once you know that this is Christina's format, she has a lesson, she has all the information that you need to know. Here are all the books you can learn. You can read. Here are the activities you can do. You start to get familiar and comfortable with what you're seeing. And again, once you get familiar and comfortable with what you're looking at, it saves you time. And then we've talked about this a lot in the last few months or so is the idea of saving your time. Because if you have 2 or 3 kids, you don't have time to try to sit there and stare at walls of curriculum text to figure out what you got to do for the day. You don't have that time. So once you start getting comfortable with these curriculums, and hers tend to follow the same structure, you feel a lot more comfortable. You go, oh, I know exactly where I need to go and look to go get the things I need for this week, or look to go and try to understand what I'm going to be having to teach today, by going outside or, doing some space study or doing your prehistory stuff. A lot of her curriculums follow the same type of structure, which is really, really, really nice. And I appreciate that a lot. So again, just like in the space science, if you've listened to that one, she has a lesson, and each week is a new lesson, and it covers a topic. What was interesting about the space science is that it progressively added and built on itself, because there was an overarching type of structure to the curriculum where you were going out on a mission to bring information to this alien named Zula. In this case, the lessons can be, while they are building slightly on each other, because she does talk about, prey animals and then talks about predators. Mm-hmm. Within those larger clusters, you can kind of pick and choose and move back, in and out. They don't all build on each other. So you can treat them more as a standalone lesson. And in that case, there's not that pressure that you have to memorize what came before. Some of the lessons do lead one into the next. Like there's a couple rabbit sections here at the beginning that, you talk about rabbits here, then you learn about more rabbits, you learn about prey animals, and you tend to focus on rabbits. And so you want to try and clump those together, but there's not as much reliance on you memorizing what came before. So if you do want to jump to a different creature, some different animal that you may prefer or something of that nature, or you're like, oh, my kid's not really a woodchuck fan or something like
yeah, or it's not the right time of year.
Not the right time of year, you can make a change and you can adapt and move. So basically that is the caveats around the outside of it. So we're going to go and talk about week 2, which is in the sample. So we don't want to talk about anything that's not in the sample, because we don't want to share any of the content that, obviously is behind you buying the curriculum. So we encourage you to go buy the curriculum. But basically it's always designed the same way. So up at the front, you're going to have some reading. This is in a book called The Burgess Animal Book for Children.
Right, which is a book from the 1920s. You can read it for free on Google Books. It's freely available, so you don't have to buy that. And it's kind of it's called Nature Lore in the curriculum, but it's basically like Peter Rabbit and Friends. And there is some bit of a story about Peter and his friends and what the questions they're asking. And then they end up talking with old Mother Nature, who ends up giving them actual information about real animals. And there's some cool drawings, some cool illustrations in there. So it's kind of a combo between a story and information both. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting combo for young kids. I think that your kids are either Peter Rabbit fans or not Peter Rabbit fans.
I think we've talked about Beatrix Potter in the past. We know Christina loves Beatrix Potter.
Yeah, she really does. She put that in her early years volumes. So I think really for us, our daughter is not a super Peter Rabbit type fan. Yeah. She likes it okay, but I think that for her,
she likes the modern take on Peter Rabbit.
Right. I think she can kind of tell that they're dated, and for her, it doesn't work as well. So that for us was a little bit hit or miss. We ended up dropping it at some point when we were going through this because it just wasn't clicking with her. That being said, I don't think that it really impaired the rest of what you have to do each week. So at the very beginning, it's, hey, read a few pages, this one story in the Burgess book. And then the rest of the week has nothing, So if you skipped it like we did at some point, it not the end of the world.
Yeah. And like always, every single curriculum, no matter who's the creator, some things are going to click, some things are not going to click. We were just telling you what didn't click for us.
They might totally click for you. There's tons of kids that love Peter Rabbit.
And yeah, we've heard people say they love Beatrix Potter or they love the poetry and the all around the world.
Like our daughter doesn't like Winnie the Pooh. It's just
not her thing.
It's just not her thing.
I don't get it. I thought Pooh would be her thing, but
I don't know. I'm not a big Winnie the Pooh fan.
You're not a big Pooh fan. Well, her dad looks like Pooh.
You did.
I did. Not as much anymore.
Not as much.
So basically, okay, so you start with this reader and then you get into the information on you as the educator and what you need, what concepts you're trying to teach.
I love this part of it. When Christina does this, it's so great because it's like, hey, you're going to read these different pages in all of these books coming ahead in the spines and the supplements, and there's going to be activities. But here's the 2 or 3 takeaways we really want your learner to understand this
I'll give you an idea. So it says, this week, you will observe for prey adaptations in your outdoor classroom, as well as online or in field guides from your local area. Talk to your child about the words predator and prey. And predators are animals that hunt other animals, and prey animals are animals that are hunted by predators. So here are some examples that you can give to your child. A cat is a predator, a mouse is a prey. And so here you are kind of showing the two.
Making these relationships.
Yeah, and then so on and so forth. Then she just continues to go on it. And I really love this because it helps you as the learner to kind of frame what you're talking about. And I remember, going back in the weight machine, this section we went out and pretended to be predators and prey in our backyard. So, we used her examples and I said, okay, you're the mouse, go hide. And I'm going to give you, it'll do a little hide and seek. And I pretended to be a cat. You can have those type of fun activities. And that's really, I think, what Christina wants is get you out and doing things and observing and
that's a really great way to add in. You had to do this with a new preschooler.
I found this curriculum
it really worked out.
Is wonderful with a preschooler. So here you are with a kindergartner, first grader, and even maybe your 8th grader along with you, and you got the 2-year-old, right? This curriculum, this outdoor classroom really, really, really helps because really just in general, what you're doing is you're trying to get outside. You're going to do some reading, and there are spines, and there are, early reader books.
And those spines are not like kinder level spines.
No.
I mean, she uses like the DK Smithsonian animal ! As a spine. I could read that as an adult, you know, it's got lots of pictures. So these are books. I love the books she chooses because they're books that are they're highly visually engaging books, but they've got lots of great information too. So for you looking at these with your very young learner, they're taking away from it these beautiful pictures. They're getting a little bit of the words, but you could do that same book with an 8th grader and they're really taking in the content. So I love you can use it for multiple levels.
Yeah, I love working with spines, but it can be challenging towards the educator because you open up the page, say 32 on this page and read to 34 and you're like, okay, this is a lot. And you're looking at everything. Do I read all the captions? Do I read every single section? That is where the art of gauging what your learner can handle and what they can't handle. I find when I'm doing the prehistory with my daughter that I'm not reading every single section. I'm kind of saying, oh, this is a section about, this type of weird adaptation that happened. I'm like, that's not going to be interesting. Let's look at the pictures and let's talk about what she can see in the picture. But if I had an 8th grader or an 8-year-old, I might read all of it. Right. And that's kind of the give and take.
And I love books that have these big pictures with captions specifically because what I can do as the educator is skim the caption real quick and summarize it in words that my younger child can understand. Oh, this part of the animal, it's like a fin and it does this or whatever. I don't have to read the 4 sentences or 5 sentences that are higher level. So that's something that I think books that DK Eyewitness books, which we love, that also have tons of captions. It's another thing that we can do is kind of skim and then give them the Cliff Notes version while they look at the pictures.
Well, another trick that I've used in the past is when I have a section that might be 3 or 4 sentences, I will ask the learner, hey, look at this image. Tell me what you think, this animal or this person, tell me about this creature. And while they're talking and getting the words starting to gear up, I'll quickly power read that section. So I know what this section talks about and then I can add on to it afterwards. So you can do those type of tricks where you're engaging your reader and then also reading the text, which is kind of I think that's kind of a little bit of the art of the education is you're trying to gauge which one what type of content you want to deliver and how you want to deliver it. And sometimes you have to make those adaptations on the fly. And this is the books that she's recommending here and her spines may have you do that, because you're right. They can be a little bit more elevated.
Yeah, I think you need to make some adaptation to these. I guess if there was a downside to this beyond us not being a Peter Rabbit family, it is that the books are not kindergarten picture books about these subjects.
The spines,
yeah. They're not. That's not what they are. They are higher level, and you will have to, make that work for your learner. But the other supplemental books, right, are lower level.
Yeah, simpler readers. Yeah.
Simpler,
and sometimes
readers.
It may be like 1 page or 2 pages. And again, it's not a lot of reading. And if you think about this, the way this curriculum is broken up, it's broken up week by week. And to do one of these lessons, obviously, sit down 5-10 minutes to get everything set up. Sit down and do your reading. Do your activity, get yourself outside and go and, try to see what you're talking about.
Right.
You're looking at an hour maybe at the most, because if you think about it, you're going to do your reading, you're going to do some activity. That activity more likely than not is outside. It's not sitting at the table doing art. So it's get yourself outside and go and do something. So sometimes that might mean to get in, depending on your living situation, that may mean for you to get in a car and go to a park. Right. And if you have a standing, this is where fitting the curriculum into your weekly flow. If you have a standing, we go to the park, no matter, hell or high water, we are at the park on Fridays, because that's what we do. And we do a picnic. It could be raining, but there's a pavilion, no big deal. We homeschool at the park. This is a great curriculum to bring with you, because you'll be there to discuss what's going on. Right. These are the types of things that you want to try to fit into your lifestyle. For us, we're very fortunate. We out our driveway, just down the street, we have a nice little trail, and that takes us to a nice long walking trail through a bunch of neighborhoods and to a nice little park. So we're very fortunate.
Go by a pond.
We go by a nice, really big pond, and so it's really cool. You can get a lot of learning through there. And I know a number of times we were just going on our nightly walks, and we were able to chip away some of the curriculum and talk a little bit about, we're talking, this week we're learning about rabbits, or this week we're learning about frogs or amphibians or whatever. We walked right by the pond and go down to the pond and see what you can see. Right. Get a stick and start poking around. And I think from the Blossom Root standpoint, more than anything, she wants your kids to go down to the edge of the water with a stick and start splashing into the water. If you don't do the spines and you don't do the readers, you don't do
the outdoor freeform exploration. Well, in the first week of this too, she asks us to define what our outdoor classroom is going to be. Yep. And so we have a pretty good size backyard, and then we have this trail you talked about that does go through some fields and some woods and a pond, which is just, so we've got different areas there. But what I think is cool is that every activity, you're supposed to go back out to your outdoor classroom, and you're going to look at it in slightly a different way. Yeah. 1 week you're looking for prey homes, right? Like little burrows and stuff. Can you find where prey would live in your yard or in your outdoor classroom? And so I think it's neat. You're kind of going into this area over and over again with a different perspective about your outdoor space, which is really cool.
Which is really cool because for the kids, when they start, maybe their backyard is a place where they play, or we have the swings between the trees, or they have their play structures, the play areas that they play in. For them, they walk outside and they start to view that same world through a different lens. I really like that. It's not just really cool. It's not just where we see the squirrels all the time and where the dog is barking and we all live at our window, and the squirrel is actually viewing us. He's observing the humans through the fishbowl of the kitchen window. The two kids are just sit there and stare at him all the time, and the dog. But they do get to go out and engage that world and try to view it from a different way. I like that as well.
One of the reasons when we got this that I thought, we should do this is because we were struggling a bit with having purposeful reasons to get outside. Yeah. The idea of just hey, let's just, that 1,000 hours outside challenge. I think that sounds just so hard to do.
Is that in 1 year?
Yeah, in 1 year. And it's we just don't have that many free hours in the day. But
it's 3 hours a day.
Yeah, it's really rough. And so So one of the things is
if we can load it, we can front load it in the summer. Though.
Well, because we are doing curriculum and we go to our parent partnership and we have, activities and family time, and we want to give our girls plenty of free play time where they can just be imaginative and do Lego or, do magnet tiles or dress up or play kitchen or whatever. We want to give them plenty of time. We don't normally think about, hey, let's just go outside and let them just be outside. We were finding we weren't prioritizing that, and we wanted to.
We tend to try to have more structure to our day.
We have a lot more structure, and then the times where we don't have structure, it's inside for them to play with their toys. It's not typically we go on a nightly walk as a family, so we are outside, but we don't have a lot of free form time outside, and we were having a hard time prioritizing. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do this curriculum was it gave us a thing we had to do that was outside that is kind of naturally a bit free form, but it was we have to go outside because we've got, this week's activity to do for outdoor classroom. And so we need to do that. So it made going outside more intentional, I think, for us beyond just our nightly walk to get our steps. It was it was intentional. And so I appreciated that. I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Prioritizing that free play, letting him, tromp around in the mud outside. And you're right. That is so hard for our family. I know there's other families that can do that a lot. And, our girls,
it's difficult for us
because I do have so much structure in the day. They tend to view me as the cruise director.
Yeah.
And I know my littlest comes up to me and goes, "Hey, what we do now? What do we do now?"
Yeah. They're used to you saying, okay, well, here's what we have to do. Well, we have,
children, there is a comedy special upstairs highlighted by your father. There is a viewing session of an indie flick that I don't think you'll enjoy over here. There's always the buffet.
I think the thing is, right, we have to schedule around our parent partnership.
Yeah.
We have to schedule around our little one does preschool 2 days a week.
Sports.
So we have some activities. We have swim lessons and things we got to schedule around. And you have, hey, we set up play dates with friends at the afternoon at the park, and our little one takes a nap at a certain time. So there are some things that you have to get done while she's awake, and some things you can't get done until she's asleep. And you're having to make that schedule every day, just saying let's just take an hour and just go outside and just be outside.
Play in the mud. No.
Is not something that we usually make specific time for. So this is good. This pushed our family. And I feel that we get outside now more than we did when we started this.
Yeah, I know this summer we were very intentional about getting out more. And I think a curriculum like this can help you do that. And if that's something that you're looking to do, wherever you live, whatever circumstances you're at, whether you're in a kind of a suburban neighborhood like us, or you're in an urban setting or even in a rural setting, making sure you're getting those kids outside, getting them into the environment, letting them know that they're humans, but they're also part of the ecosystem, that we don't just live inside our wood structures that we we occupy all the time. It is a nice thing to actually get our kids outside. And I know it's hard for us to kick them out. Hey, go do this, go do that.
Because then they're bored, and that's good.
That is a good thing.
They need to be bored.
But doing something like this also has taught our children, you can go out back and you can go and look for spiders. And you can go and look for bugs. And they're now doing that, right?
Right, yeah.
They want to kill every one of those creatures.
Right, we're having to stop them from killing things outside. But they're looking... They
just want to rid the world of spiders. And I know a lot of us, what's the famous line from Aliens? We'll get off the planet and nuke them from orbit. It's no big deal. Nobody likes spiders. I'll send my 3-year-old to smash them all.
Yeah, no, we want to keep those spiders around. So we're trying to keep them to we're trying to teach them some of that.
I know.
Leave no trace, don't harm nature kind of thing.
Well, because now the oldest is in Girl Scouts.
Right. And so we're learning a lot about that too. But they'll go outside now and they're observing the squirrels and they're looking at the birds that land in the yard and what they're doing. And I think it's good. I think it's made us more observant.
We're trying.
We're trying. I think it was a good start. And because it came with the space science, I don't know if you had to ask me, would I buy just this module for just this? I don't know if I would. No. I think the fact that it comes with space science is great. If you're not intending to do the space science that it comes with, I'm not sure if this is worth doing on its own, unless you really feel strongly that you want a nature curriculum that you can make focus on, then go for it. Because I think for what it is, I think it's really great for kinder level student to just get them outside, start to understand some basics about animals and nature relationships and things. I think is really great.
Yeah.
So,
and just a couple things we left off. She also includes some really wonderful images of the animals that you're talking about.
Yeah,
so
for each week there's like an animal profile each week, right? Where it's like,
and again,
2 animals or something
we
a week.
highly recommend you printing these curriculums off and putting them into binders. It does make it a lot easier for you to, grab and go. Also, as a reference, because you can just open it to the right page. But also there are some materials in here that are really helpful, especially when you're talking about certain animals, to be able to just open them up and see a really nice high quality color photo of a hare and compare that against a rabbit and see how their legs are a little bit different, how their ears are a little bit different. You can, obviously, you don't have to look those things up on your phone or on the TV if you're looking for some type of video or learning thing. So it is nice to have those. And also there is a journal at the end. It is not a writing journal. It is more in line with the drawing pictures, answering a couple questions, writing a couple words, very simple stuff, kindergarten level type of journaling, not, extensive writing of sentences and things of that nature. So it's a lot simpler.
They're like making lots of observations and then recording their observations in either pictures or, small words. Like nothing to, I feel that this is very appropriately aged. We've done other things before, like where we've talked about, it says it's kindergarten, but this is too much, right? I think that this is very appropriate for this age. I think if you were doing it with an older student, I don't know that I'd go much above, 3rd grade. Maybe
I wouldn't go much.
But
unlike the space science where you can gear that up.
I mean, I think you can gear this up a bit as well,
but I don't
because
know if you
of
go much above that. Yeah.
Because of the spines. But yeah, 3rd, 4th grade maybe. I probably wouldn't go older than that with this. If you have multiple learners all together. I mean, this is targeted for kinder, and I think that's right on. But you definitely could bring other learners along with this. I think just fine.
Well, we loved the outdoor curriculum, as always. Hopefully you guys can check it out if you do pick up the space science. And as Ariel said, you will get this as well. And so we really recommend it. Great curriculums if you're thinking about going every other week. That would be a good way to do it. 72 weeks there. You can see doing it over a year and a half, maybe double up a few in the summer and get through it in a year. Really recommend it. Let's go ahead and talk about our book of the week, as we like to now. Ariel, there was a popular book that came out about 15, 16 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. How old?
Let's not talk about how long ago it came out. So we recently finished Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and we did a bit of a homegrown unit study on that. And I am still working to put together all those resources to share with you all. So do stay tuned for that, because I am going to do that. I'm about halfway through, and I need to find more hours in the day with all the other things we're doing for the podcast and the YouTube channel and things. But we did go ahead and start into Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So that's the book that we're reading this week, and we're reading the illustrated edition. The illustrated edition is, if you haven't gotten the illustrated editions yet, I think that they are absolutely worth the investment. The Order of the Phoenix illustrated edition is I think by the time this airs, it will have just come out. I have it on pre-order at Amazon, and I think it's due here shortly to me. So Jim Kay is doing all the illustrations.
He's doing a wonderful job.
Absolutely gorgeous.
It's going to be one of those things when it's finally done, it will be in the annals of literature, of art merging with storytelling, as an example to work from.
These are they're amazing books. I've bought all 4 so far, and then I have the Order of the Phoenix on pre-order. So definitely, if you haven't done the illustrated version of Harry Potter, we highly recommend that you purchase that, because they are keepsakes. And I don't think that I would ever go back to reading the regular version. I still have them all in hardcover. Maybe I would, but there's something
they have their place. Like when you're reading, if your learner is reading them, you'll want to give them the paperbacks.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's true.
when they get a little older, they can get their own hardback version.
But I still have all my original hardcovers from when they came out, and I'm not ready to part with them yet. And I don't know if I ever will be ready to part with them. But these illustrated versions are absolutely worth it. One of the things I love is that he uses different mediums. So there's going to be paints in there, watercolors, and there's going to be some line drawings, and it's just
there's pretty much something on every page, right?
There's background things on every page, but there's only one big picture every few pages. But it still completely worth it.
Some of these books, Order and Goblet, are huge. I mean, he must have.
Yeah, and I think they really have less pictures.
Okay.
These in Goblet, that was my impression. They have less pictures than the others do, or smaller pictures, because there is so much text. One of the things I think is cool is that, with the exception of Sorcerers for Philosophers, they basically kept in all of the original British in the illustrated edition. So we were
How hard was it to learn British? To read that?
So, well, it was funny because we were reading Chamber of Secrets when they stole the Ford Anglia, and they talked about the boot, and the bonnet, and there was they've used different words, and I saw that in Sorcerers as well. So they kept Sorcerers. They didn't change that. They didn't go to Philosophers, but all the rest of it, they use the British vernacular, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And our daughter learned some neat words. So yeah, so we are right in the middle of that.
Your goal is to get through Azkaban, and because her birthday, she's coming up, she's turning 7 soon, and her birthday is to get.
She was supposed to read Goblet, but I don't really know if I can make it through Chamber and then Azkaban in like 2 weeks. That's a lot.
This is the one that has the vampire Batman guy in it.
Goblet, yes.
Yes, it has that guy.
That's Pattinson's.
Yeah, it has that guy.
Yes,
yeah.
It is. So we wanted to wait till she was just slightly older before we dealt with that, because there is the death of
Batman in the great fusion with Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I don't know how much I'll make it through. But anyway, book of the week, we're reading the illustrated edition of Chamber of Secrets. We'll link it in the show notes if you haven't seen it. It's gorgeous.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!